We are living through momentous times. The government is losing votes in the House of Commons, and next week it's 99% certain that they will lose the big one, when Parliament votes on Mrs May's Brexit plan. A lot of people view what's happening as evidence that our political system is in chaos. But I think what's happening is great for politics and is exactly how representative democracy should work. What MPs are doing is ignoring what their leaders are telling them to do, ignoring what the whips are instructing them to do, and making up their own minds on which way to vote. They are considering all the issues, including how their constituents voted in the referendum, and then deciding for themselves. That is true representative democracy, which for many, many years in this country has been distorted by the first-past-the-post system and a party system that rewards loyalty above all else. We should all be celebrating this week. Something inspiring is coming out of chaos.
I can't believe you think what happened in the House of Commons this week is good for democracy. I see this as the death of democracy. This was never supposed to be about what politicians wanted. This was supposed to be about what the people of Britain wanted. And it sickens me to see vain, arrogant politicians trying to put together a Brexit that is totally against the democratically declared will of the people that they serve. Well, now let me finish. You still don't get what Leave is all about, why people voted Leave. People voted Leave because they believed politicians weren't listening to what they had to say. They believed that their voices weren't being heard. And the reason there has been chaos over Brexit has been completely caused by parliamentarians scrapping between themselves. And you said you're happy about this. And yes, I'll bet you are. And I'll bet all the Remainers in Parliament are. And I bet they all went back to their big houses the other night and let me finish and cracked open a bottle of champagne.
Forever,
no, but I'm answering what you just said. Yours was just as long, so don't be rude and just actually maybe as a Ramona you should listen to what someone else has to say for a change.
Yeah, not you, I don't think.
People like you toasting what has happened in the House of Commons, saying this is fantastic.
Look, can someone else join in?
For working people.
It's not. I'm not toasting at all. All I'm saying, if you actually had listened,
celebrate.
Was I'm not arguing about Brexit at all. What I'm arguing about is parliamentary democracy and arguing about the individuals. For years and years, the people who run the parties. I mean, you remember when Blair got elected saying, you're here because of Labour, so please do what I tell you, right? This isn't that. This is a group of people who are all sitting around deciding what they should do, and they're taking into account where they're from the votes.
Greg, what gives them that right? They were handed a mandate.
That's what they're elected to do.
Hold on, they were handed a mandate to fulfil a certain task. Now, the last time I got divorced, right, I instructed a lawyer, go and sort out my divorce. She didn't come back to me, my lawyer, and say, do you know what? We spent 2.5 years. Do you want to think again? No, I want you to get the best deal that you can. And I hear what you say, but you know what? And I was a reluctant leaver. I voted, I've told you many times, I was probably 52-48. I didn't wake up in the morning swivel-eyed with fury over Brussels. I just thought, in the long run, actually, it would be better for Britain to get out. I just wish that deal would get through. Ordinary people just want the damn thing done, Greg. Even though it's a bad deal, it's a shocking deal, I get you. Just get it done and move on.
Let's just take a look at what some of... let's get back to the point I'm making. Let's just take a look at what some of the Brexiteers said. I mean, if you look at Nigel Farage, he said, I believe in Britain, a Britain outside of the EU, a proud, patriotic country that makes its own laws in our own sovereign parliament. Michael Gove said, I believe as a matter of deep principle in parliamentary democracy. I believe that the laws which govern us should all be made by politicians accountable to the people.
Don't care what they said.
Boris Johnson, who said, the most valuable British export and the one for which we are most famous is the one that is now increasingly in question, parliamentary democracy, the way people express their power. Now, that's what this is about. This is about, at long last, we're going to have a period, and it could well end up they vote to leave, or it could well end that they vote that we should crash out. But at least they're not doing what just because they're instructed to. They're voted for what they believe.
But never mind what they believe.
Hold on, Carol. We know what you think, and please don't call us Remainers. It just raises the temperature. I can feel my blood pressure spiking whenever you do it.
Well, so the things you've called leaders, stupid, racist, or
I haven't, Carol. Please. What happened was that Dominic Raab. It's not Parliament rejecting the will of the people. It's Parliament trying to get this done in a way that works for the country. Now, Theresa May's deal is not... There is a majority for... No, there is no majority for Theresa May's deal. Yeah. Therefore, we have to look at this dispassionately. What Dominic Raab has done is to say that MPs have a say in her statement to the House if the deal is rejected. Can we just hear from Dominic Raab?
Yes.
I think the government should listen. I have no desire to undermine the Prime Minister, but at the end of the day, we have to accept we're a deeply divided country, we're a deeply divided Parliament, and we are going to have to find ways of working through this. And the best way of doing that is offering people the real opportunity to debate with each other the options. Closing down options will never work.
So Dominic Raab says people, what he means is MPs. And in my heart, Carol, and if this is going to make your blood pressure rise, what I would like our parliamentarians to do is to use the Scottish Supreme Court's ruling on Article 50 that we can unilaterally revoke Article 50, stop Brexit, and that would really give you something to moan about, Carol.
I think we've heard from you,
Yeah.
June. What do you
If you don't stop being rude to me, I'm sick of you being rude to me.
Well,
I'm in this debate as well.
Well, can I just bring in a grab,
Of course.
please? So this is a grab from Valerie Vaz, Labour's shadow leader of the Commons, and what she's talking about actually is about transparency, which is what I think this week was about. Let's have a look.
At every stage in this process, the government have sought to prevent Parliament from having a meaningful say on how this country approaches the withdrawal from the EU. The Prime Minister has sought to sideline Parliament. But this amendment would simply ensure that Parliament is given another meaningful say if the government lose on Tuesday next week.
How is that a bad thing? Isn't that what our democracy is about? You know, as a Leaver, you're always talking about sovereignty. Well, surely that is it in action. I don't understand your point.
What I was reacting to before was what Rachel just said, where she wants to revoke the result of this referendum.
But that's what she wants. That's not what...
And it's also what people like Dominic Raab want. And now there used to be a pretence that they supported democracy and they supported the will of the people. But now there is no pretence anymore. They just don't want
OK,
Brexit.
I resent you defining democracy solely as a referendum result of 37% of the electorate on an election that, if it was in Parliament, the courts would have become involved a long time ago and would not allow this result to stand and to determine the future of our country, our children and our grandchildren for the next 50 years.
But Rachel, it wasn't. It wasn't. That was the terms of the referendum.
Yes. It was,
it's actually, when you think about it, the fact that we've probably got the sort of deal that a 52-48 split merits or deserves. That's probably what we've got. So I know that they won't get it through.
This is about Parliament doing its job. I don't understand how this is a problem.
Its job was to put the referendum, to put the result of the referendum through, to make it happen.
But if Theresa May can't do her deal, as she calls it, her deal, expressing the fact that the executive has actually taken control of this debate away from Parliament, and now Parliament is simply saying, no, we need to have a role.
Parliament has stopped it.
If I was a Brexiteer, I think, at the moment, I'd vote for Mrs May's deal.
Oh, absolutely.
Because
it's the best you're going to get.
Because it's the best you're going to get.
And if you're a Brexiteer,
and the hard-line Brexiteers are risking all.
Yes. Intriguingly, they're the ones who might bring about never being a Brexit.
Yes, they could lose everything.
It's extraordinary.
And I'm amazed that they haven't just said, look, we don't like this deal, but
it's the best we're going to get.
But she's right in the sense of 3 or 4 basic fundamentals are what Brexit was about. And I agree with her. I'm not a Brexiteer, but if I was a Brexiteer now, I'd be voting for this deal.
Yeah.
Because the fantasy of the pick and mix that we would sort of promise clearly isn't going to happen.
You ain't never going to get there if you don't vote for this one. You're never going to get there, is my view.
So you think when it is rejected, I mean, we'll discuss this no doubt next week, but you think if it doesn't go through on Tuesday, you think it's finished?
I think she needs to go into the jungle.
I need you to... I need you to agree to disagree, because we've got no deal on that.
We don't have any trouble.
We don't.